Welcome to the Quick 10 podcast, brought to you by Cuick Trac, focusing on all things FedCon and cyber defense from different perspectives and different personalities, all in 10-ish minutes. Here's your host, Derek White.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Quick 10 podcast. I'm your host, Derek White. We are here live and in person. I've got another great guest here named Jeff Smedley, and we're going to talk about CMMC value, different areas of conversations that we've been having. We're at a live event here, really focused on the CMMC ecosystem, which is great. Lots of energy, but specifically, thanks for being on. Really appreciate it.
Yes. So I've been doing some consulting for board level, CEO level, for strategy and value creation within CMMC. My story is that I was a DoD CIO for a large government contractor, and we were acquired by private equity in 2020. And I knew that in that journey with the private equity and getting to ultimately another acquisition, that I needed to create some value within IT. And obviously, securing the defense industrial base is very important to me. I was also FSO for the company. So, got in the boardroom and really kind of sold the benefits from a value perspective and from an opportunity perspective of CMMC. And private equity, Arlington Capital, they were on board at the beginning. CEO was on board. So next was the journey of kind of completing that. And through that journey of the next 3 years, I started to realize what was, the biggest change. And exactly the way Katie said a few minutes ago, that culture was the biggest thing. I knew that was where we really needed to move. But ultimately, deciding that the whole company was subject to CUI and that the whole company was the enclave really forced that culture change. Yeah. But the distinct advantages that we were going to see started coming when we went through our joint surveillance voluntary assessment. One, we wanted to instantiate ourselves while the rule was getting finalized with a high confidence on-site assessment from DIBCAC, as well as the C3PO. So it's kind of 2 for 1. And the other thing was that we knew we were going to get acquired. The acquiring company valued CMMC in a very distinct way. It valued our posture because they knew that enabled the waterfall and the growth of the company to continue within the defense industrial base. We ended up scoring a perfect score, no reclama, no adjudication.
Congratulations.
And that was good. We sold the company for $1 billion.
Nice.
February in 24 to CBRE. They've taken the ball and run with it. And I have since retired, and kind of staying relevant in the industry is just kind of keeping connected with CEOs and boards that want to make sure they're on track.
Yeah. That's an incredible story. Congratulations. That's all the hard work pays off, which is good to hear. I love those kind of stories. Speaking of C-level buy-in and strategy and value, it's never changed really in the cybersecurity space in general. We add CMMC in not just the complexity from trying to roll that out as a program. You probably see a lot of, and you can talk about this a little bit if you can, is say you're at a board table, and the CIO cares about things, the CFO cares about things, the CISO cares about things, CEO cares about things. They all care about the same thing, but they care about different aspects of it. Risk, cost, security, technology, growth. Yes, all these things. And so can you, any eye openers there that when you're in those meetings that you feel like made a big difference with that story you just told, where you saw the alignment? Maybe it wasn't identified as a dysfunction. It was more of just misalignment, and then the alignment came together before all that happened.
Absolutely. So the biggest thing was a lot of the way that CISOs or CIOs are approaching this in securing appropriations or cultural shift or whatever it is in this process is they're approaching it from a risk vector. I abandoned that especially because I was motivated because we're private equity.
Yep.
So they're all about risk.
Yep.
And I went distinctly through the opportunity side. And if you look at it from the opportunity side, it's a pretty simple equation. You say, okay, what's your gross revenue? What's your gross profit? And you just ask the question, what if I could move the needle on both of those just 2 or 3%? All of a sudden, the whole room, the whole board of directors is focused on, what did you say? You're an IT guy, but hold on. This is typically coming from business development. But once you explain it in that way, and then it, of course, it's survivability aspect of it. What I see now in the industry is from an M&A perspective, you're going to have suppliers that are going to be called into question to provide this. If you are a supplier, a small contract subservient to a prime, and they're coming to ask you this, and they know that you're critical, prior to that, you probably had some leverage. Now, they're going to be looking at you as a distressed property.
That's interesting perspective. And that's, so I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we talked about this because that is a story that is hard to get someone to talk about or who's gone through it. That didn't end. Some of them don't end that way either.
Right.
There's, we've seen multiple examples of CMMC was announced. There was investment. There was, of course, Katie just spoke, but there was DOD was trying to do something that typically doesn't go that fast. And they hit some milestones. I think a lot of people here would say didn't believe they hit that, but other things we're still here and some things aren't defined yet, et cetera. But there's been some of that disconnect then starts to happen on, do you pivot? Do you stay true to who you are? Opportunities, business development, growth. Like, hey, if we do this, we can get into here, starts to impact things that go right back to the board of directors, right back to the C level of a company for what that strategy is going to be. So that's great perspective. I love that big time. So thanks for joining.
Yes.
Great conversation. Of course, we could sit here and do this all day. Where do you want people watching or listening to go to connect with you or direct them anywhere?
Yeah, connect with me on my LinkedIn, Jeff Smedley. I'm out there, outspoken about CMMC, and happy to help wherever I can.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you having on.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode, and make sure to subscribe to the Cuick 10 podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and check us out on YouTube as well. For more information about Cuick Trac, visit our website at www.cuicktrac.com. That's CUICKTRAC.com.